So we're almost all there now. Now I want you to sort of take a look at this, and it almost looks sort of killed. I don't know whether you've seen it on camera. Hopefully you could sort of see that black is just starting to it's just showing through, not too much, but enough to sort of give us something a little bit more than just a flat white grey paint. Now what you also want to do is another little tip as well, is don't look at it and go, oh, I've still got maybe some more work to do or not. Every time you sort of do another coat, make sure that this coat that's already on there dries, because what potentially happens is you can spray on this and you look at it and it almost looks like you've killed it off and it's like, you know, spot on. But as it dries, right, the black can come back through, right? So you do need to make sure you sort of let it dry, because it will sort of come back through. I mean, actually, I have just sprayed this, and although I thought, oh, that looks good, I'm actually seeing now as it's drying that actually no, I could do with a little bit here and now. I don't know if you could sort of see it sort of coming through a little bit too much maybe there, and just on the front here as it's drying, there was that big black bit I did there, and I'm kind of seeing that coming through a bit more. So actually as this is drying, I'm like, yeah, I need to put another coat on. So yeah, as always, just make sure it dries first, and then that is it. Just try not to worry about it too much, as long as you have your paint thin. If you're a beginner, maybe go quite thin. If you have to put 10 coats on top of this just to get it right, then that's what you've got to do. Just don't sort of go in there with a 50-50 mix and just spray on top of it, because probably after 4 coats you've killed off your black paint and you just don't have as much control. So always thin your paints in these stages. So here she is, all nicely sprayed up now, and hopefully you can sort of see the whole pre-shading is just coming through, and it's just giving it that sort of nice little mottled effect. And you know, just around like where phases are and stuff, it's just looking that little bit darker and all that kind of cool stuff. Underside's done. It just kind of, you know, instead of having just a flat white grey, we've got something more interesting to look at and looking a little bit sort of more weathered. So what we need to do now is seal this in with a gloss coat, and with this build it's more important. Now just decanted in here, I've got like, it's a multi-surface Pledge multi-surface wax. Again, you know, always go to Genesis Models website. On the forum there's a whole post on there about you know, the floor cleaner that we use as a gloss. We use it basically because it does the job really well. It's mega cheap, because you can go off and buy big bottles like this, massive bottles like this, and this stuff absolutely lasts you ages. I mean, I've been doing this for 10 years and I've probably only used 2 bottles in total, so it really does last a very long time. If you can't get hold of it, because I know in some countries it's all different, there is other products out there which I have just here, which is Alclad's 2 Lacquers Aqua Gloss. I know it's a little bit more expensive, but it basically has the same sort of characteristics, does the job pretty much the same, but it's something you can actually go out and buy. So what we're going to do is, because it's already sort of at a really nice thin consistency, we can pour this in neat, right? So we haven't got to do any thinning or use thinners or anything like that. We can pour it in neat, sprays absolutely beautifully, and then what we do is, as always, we do that light misty coat, right? Again, as always, we want that light misty coat to go down just to sort of get our model thinking this kind of paint, and it just allows all our other coats afterwards to stick nicely to the model. So there's a nice light misty coat. We can just press down the trigger, get air, right? So all we get is air coming out, and it dries a lot quicker. I have just noticed a hair on this actually, so yeah, this is dry enough to sort of get that off. Just rub that off. Which actually, one thing I did forget to do, which I do recommend you do pretty much anytime you do any spraying, I always like to get out my scenery brush normally. Now obviously I should have done this beforehand, but basically a nice little sort of brush all over the model gets up any hair, so whenever you put a coat of paint on, you're not sort of gluing down hairs and stuff onto your model. There's another little bit there. Actually, do you know what? I will show you this actually. A good product to get out is we have these sanding sticks just here. I do have a newer version. Here you go. These are the skinny sticks. They're by Flurry Models. Pretty much any online store sells them. And these are the polishing pack, right? On the green side is, I mean, they just feel really smooth. The white one is really smooth. You pop, you sand that and it comes up, makes your model come up shiny. On the green side, it's not really sanding really, it's just like, it just kind of like buffs things up and whatnot, but it's really good for situations like this. So if I bring you in a little bit closer, I've got this little mark here, this little hair. I don't know how well you can see it, but we can come in with this type of sanding stick, and there you go, it's already gone. Boom. You just give it that little bit of a rub, and what it basically does, it can rub off these little hairs or any bits of debris or something that you might get on your model. But because it's a really sort of smoothing sanding stick, it really takes a lot for you to actually sand away paint, right? So you are just kind of lightly just removing the bits and whatnot, and you're not really sanding into your paint. So really good tip to use those in these kind of situations, right? But as I say, do that before you actually do any spraying. But anyway, back to our gloss coat. Again, we've put on our light misty coat, so now we can sort of put on a light coat. Right, and as always, as soon as you start seeing it get wet, just move along. You know, don't stay in the same place too long, don't stay in a place where it's getting wet, and what you'll start to see is the model starts shining up. And it's simple as that, you know, 2 or 3 coats and you should be good. However, this model we're going to go a little bit differently. The problem is I know I have used these decals that you get with this kit. They're not the best decals, they are kind of thick. We do have to use some serious decaling solutions, and because we're going to be doing so much decaling on this, I'm going to do about 5 or 6 gloss coats on this. I'm really going to gloss this baby up, and then what you want to do is probably leave it for a couple of days. Normally I'll do about 2 or 3 coats, I'll leave it overnight to dry, and then I'll do my decaling. With this one I want to be extra protected, so I'm going to do something like 5 or 6 coats and probably leave it like 3 days to make sure it properly dries and cures down to the bone. Because when we get at these, you know, decaling solutions, and we're going to go heavy with these decaling solutions, if your gloss coat isn't cured, right, it will start to sort of react to it and leave some nasty marks and stuff. So we really want to make sure we're really sort of thick and really definitely dry with this. So I'm going to be cracking on with getting that done. So now we're entering into the decaling stage. Now before we start doing the decaling, just want to let you know, we've done that about 5 or 6 coats on this, and we've left it to dry. And good to leave it to dry for a couple of days. I did start doing a little bit of decaling after maybe about 2 days, and it was still a slight bit of a reaction, right? Because I think we put so many coats of gloss on here that we just need to leave it to dry a lot longer. So I've left it for about 4 days and we seem to be all good. Next thing is, just before we start this, I want to sort of warn you about it. After doing some, as you can see, I've already started this a bit, and really, these are terrible, right? If you are watching this is great as a teaching instrument to sort of show you really horrible decaling and really hard decaling. But if you want to build along, I would kind of highly recommend you didn't, unless you were up there as like an advanced model builder, right? If you are beginner, intermediate, you are going to find this really hard. I have had quite a few comments off people actually saying, oh, they can't wait to see how this turns out because they tried it, had problems with the decals and basically give up, and I can see why. Very, very problematic. The problems we are facing with this kit is, first off, we've got this whole wraparound decal thing, which in itself is a bit of an advanced bit of decaling, because literally about, I don't know, maybe 80-90% of this model is just covered in decals. So all these lumps and bumps you can see on here, especially these warp nacelles, which I'll have to walk you through these very slowly, are very, very tricky. So many lumps and bumps on it. Then you add into that the decals they give you with this kit are a bit horrid as well, so we are probably going as bad as it gets with any decals here. Another thing I want to sort of mention as well is, as we work through this, I'm going to have to do things differently to, say, the normal standard decaling procedure, right? It's not sort of nice, so we have to do things a bit differently to get around certain things. So if you are new and a beginner, probably want to go check out my decaling tutorials, or, you know, there's loads and loads of other kits I've done where we've done decaling. It's all been nice and sort of easy, and there's always like a nice simple sort of procedure that we follow with decaling. This one is like really, really different. So again, this is going to be for you guys who have done decaling that you're doing decaling that's really, really hard, and it's a different procedure, lots of different ways of going about things to do certain things and everything. But anyway, let's get down to the decaling. You'll see what I mean as we work through it.